Hey guys, it's Lumen. Today I'll be discussing my thoughts on this iteration of the New Year's seasonal in 10 minutes or less. Before I get into card analysis, can we take a moment to appreciate the art? Every year it seems like Gung-Ho releases an artistic banger in this particular seasonal. I mean, first you have New Year Riche, and then you have Revo New Year Artemis, and now you have Revo New Year Kami. Normally I don't care for the art, but now and again I'm awed by a masterful creation. And it seems like the New Year seasonal has had a disproportionate amount of said artistic masterpieces. Now I'm curious, what is your favorite work of art in Puzzle & Dragons? Let me know in the comments below. Mine is probably Shinji and Rei from the Evangelion collab. The art is just too clean for me. Alright, let's get into the card analysis. New Year Lutina at first glance looks weirdly overtuned in very specific aspects. Her active is unbelievably amazing for only one dungeon, MD2, but pretty much sucks in every other endgame dungeon. She can have an ungodly set of 3 Tensi awakenings, but only has 7 awoken skills to balance it out. Overall, New Year's Lutina is a rare example of specialization to the extreme, which is okay, because she does have a general use of delay equip in case you can't take advantage of her specialization. Of course, I'm always in favor of specialists over generalists, as the meta nowadays requires extreme optimization that generalists simply can't provide, so New Year Lutina gets my stamp of approval. The card equip is even better because you can use like ungodly active on almost every team. Of course, it's definitely optimized for blue teams, so Royal Oak seems like the perfect lead, but you can also use it on off-color builds like Daytona and just ignore the orb enhances. It's too juiced for MD2 farming. An expensive trade or chase, but if you know what you're doing, the value might outweigh the cost. Next up, we got New Year's Kami, the latest and greatest artwork from the seasonal. Though she looks amazing, her new awoken skill set and active are also awesome for the new Tiger playstyle. I'm going to call it the Tiger playstyle since Blob sounds super crude. In particular, the active provides great utility in multiple ways. Obviously, the cleric effects are valuable, but the unlock and subsequent heal orb generation is also useful for recovery. After all, Genos, the new meta lead dropping on Monday, doesn't create any heal orbs on his own, so having the ability to heal in a pinch is invaluable. Furthermore, the awakenings also maximize recovery as heal enhances multiply the amount of health recovered in exchange for matching 4 linked orbs. Despite packing all this value, New Year's Kami still manages to deal tremendous damage with a Tiger Awakening, a couple Fire Rose, and a potential 7C Super Awakening. Sheesh! Better than being known for your teacup holders, eh? Equip is definitely nice, but I'd first use the reincarnated form. The other forms are pretty irrelevant. Alright, let's move on to the new orb skin of the run, New Year's Allatu. Allatu is a pretty juicy set of awakenings, with her being one of only 2 cards with double Tensi and a VDP for Dark attribute. The other card is Ghost Ring, but with a third of the attack stat, I think it's safe to say Allatu easily outdamages her predecessor. Her active is also very convenient as a time debuff cleanser and a board replace with a no Skyfall effect on a very fast cooldown. While board replace may feel a little weird, it's a great way to circumvent problems on your board when you don't have a way to deal with it. For example, if you only have partial poison resist and an enemy spawns a million mortal poisons, you could use Allatu's active to flush those orbs down the toilet and replace them with non-lethal regular orbs instead. The replace is a nice and flexible safety net that will come in handy in less than ideal situations. Keep in mind that the upcoming Blackbird scales up the 10C Awakening, making Allatu quite an attractive sub-option. As for the equips, neither really stand out to me, especially when compared to the base. Last but not least, we have New Year Aten. I'll admit that I'm not the biggest fan of Rainbow, but I did play it extensively during the New Year Riche and Valentine's Ideal era, back when Coliseum 2 and Arena 6 were the endgame. Anyways, New Year's Aten is probably the most overtuned damage stick I've ever seen, from the awakenings to the active. I guess that's his niche since forever, but sacrificing utility or defensive awakenings for pure firepower is not always the best move. Obviously, Gung-Ho planted New Year Aten in the machine as bait for the whale since you can cycle the full board with 3 copies, but it's not really worth it. I could potentially see Aten being used as a fast full board change and as a burst, but it's a little hard to fit in because his typings don't really mesh with Beach Mario. If you're playing a Rainbow team focused around gods and need someone to blast some butts in a dungeon, Aten is the man for the job. Otherwise, The equip is fascinating as a full debuff cleanser and a rare hazard Skyfall override. Nowadays, it seems like Surge Latents have replaced the old school Hazard Skytech such as Agadine and Halloween Pumpkin, but some dungeons do cast an unavoidable Poison Skyfall as a 7x6 penalty, such as Chester in MD2. Since Surge Latents don't work, players have to revert back to the old school Hazard Skyfall override, and New Year Aten's equip is the newest and shiniest option for this niche with a super fast active and great awakenings. And that's it for the new stuff. Yes, every card did receive an equip form that requires a limited time evolution material, so make sure to buy at least a couple of those New Year cards so you don't miss out. The rest of the machine doesn't have much to pique my interest, but before I move on, let me briefly mention some super useful cards. New Year Lajoa's equip has been an absolute stud for me in the past few months. I've used it basically everywhere. I remember being a little skeptical when I traded last year, and I am so glad I managed to assuage my own doubts about the cost. With the endgame shifting towards health stacking on top of Transform Team, any card with Team HP and an SB is going to be premium, and New Year Lajoa throws a tape resist on top. If you play endgame dungeons, you can probably see why this equip is cracked. Maybe you can get away with asking a friend to inherit it on their leader, but it might be worth to at least consider a trade. New Year's Artemis just gained VDP in her Super Awakening selection, making her an even more powerful sub-option for wood teams as a premier color void option. Though her heyday may have passed after the days of Nautical ASR2, New Year Artemis is still an awesome damage stick for Nautilus and should be heavily considered for a trade since the trade cost is relatively low. Her equip is no sleeper either, with skill boost, team recovery, and wood OE, as well as a great color void active to really spice things up. Finally, while New Year Ganesha didn't get buffed, he is still the premier coin farming lead in North America, so do watch out for him if you plan to roll. And that's my take on the New Year seasonal in 10 minutes or less. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next event, and as always, good luck and have fun.